Doctors could be on the brink of a breakthrough.
Migraines.
How to control them. Tame a migraine.
A severe migraine.
Throbbing, recurring headaches.
Given all the noise, navigating the migraine experience can be confusing and scary, but you do not have to do it alone. Welcome to the Migraine Guy Podcast, the official podcast of themigraineguy.com and theheadachreview.com. Now, here's your host.
What is up, Migraine Podience? It's Kevin here, the Migraine Guy, bringing you another episode of the Migraine Guy Podcast. If you're new to the pod, as we always say, please hit that subscribe button on whatever podcast platform you are listening to us on. And if you are on iTunes, we would really appreciate it. I would really appreciate it if you hit the pause button right now, went over to iTunes, left a 5-star review, and some kind comments in the review section. I'll go ahead and pause and wait. Okay, thanks for doing that for us. If you're new to the pod, do all that stuff, but also know that we break up the pod into sections. The first section here is going to be about me and my migraine experience this last week or two. Then we're going to hop into some migraine news. This week we're going to be talking about a new study on Botox. Then we're going to dive into a migraine tip of the week. We're kind of on a supplement kick right now, so we're going to be talking about a particular supplement for migraine. And then we're going to close with a migraine comment, question, or story from a listener. So if that's the kind of stuff you like, I do hope you will subscribe. The last couple weeks of migraines for me have been overall worse than average. And by worse, I mean I've been getting more level 7 migraines than is typical. Usually I'll get 1 or 2 a month. My most common migraine experience, the kind of thing that I get 3 to 5 times a week, is really a 3 to 5 level pain migraine. You know, there's some jaw tightness, pressure, kind of a throbbing, headachy sensation. But overall, I can function even though I'm in, a moderate amount of pain. But these last couple weeks, it's been in the 7 range, and all those symptoms that I just described basically get amped up as the pain goes up. And I've been trying to be real good with my sumatriptan because it's been more effective recently than it has in the entire time that I've tried it over the last 4 years. But the sumatriptan just hasn't done anything other than make my jaw feel extremely tingly, but it doesn't do anything about the pain. And so now, on top of all the other migraine symptoms, I have kind of the nerve tingling sensation. So it doesn't really seem to be helping too much. And so it's just been kind of a grind my teeth and bear it type situation these past few weeks. Nothing really seemed to have changed. My stress levels have been about the same. My work schedule has been the same. My sleep patterns have been the same. My diet's been the same. Yada yada, all the normal stuff has not changed, and so it was a little weird and very difficult to deal with because I couldn't isolate what was the cause, and so I didn't know what to do other than just get punched in the face day after day with migraines. But sometimes that's just the way it is, especially when you have chronic level migraines. They just hit sometimes repeatedly and they don't stop, and you just have to wait them out. And so no real victory story here. It's just been kind of a grind these last few weeks. Thankfully, I've completed some projects that I've been working on, which has been nice. So there's been a sense of accomplishment with that. Nothing too major, just some building projects and some repair projects around our house. Our dishwasher, I was about to leave to go teach the other day, and the dishwasher just started leaking all over the floor. And had it started leaking 5 minutes later, I would have been on my way to class, and the kitchen and probably the dining room would have just filled with water, and I would have come home to a huge mess. So I was thankful that I caught it at the very early stages and ordered the replacement part and got that fixed. So that was good. But the migraines have just not been wanting to congratulate me. Or maybe this is their way of congratulating me. I don't know. Either way, that's kind of what's been going on with me. In the Botox section, in the migraine news section, I talk a little bit about my ideas on maybe getting some Botox treatment soon, or at least talking to my neurologist about it. The muscle relaxer has kind of not been doing anything for me lately. Even if I take it before bed, its ability to help me sleep has even diminished. I'll get maybe 4 hours of good sleep, but when I take the muscle relaxer, then I wake right up. Whereas if I don't take the muscle relaxer, there's a chance I'm going to get about 6 hours of sleep. And it might not be great sleep, but it's still sleep. And so I'm kind of reaching the end of my rope with the tizanidine muscle relaxer, but maybe I also just need to dive in and start taking 4 milligrams instead of 2. So I'm kind of wrestling with some of those preventative ideas right now. Not really sure what to do. But that's the way it is. Gotta try a new treatment. Gotta figure out a new plan, maybe. And this is just part of the process. So if you are interested in that kind of stuff, again, I do hope that you will hit subscribe to this podcast. We are, just to toot our own horn, the longest running migraine podcast in existence. So if that's the kind of stuff you'd like to hear, please hit that subscribe button. Now let's dive into that migraine news. All right, this week's bit of migraine news comes to us out of Greece, where a 3-year study of long-term exposure to Botox for migraine prevention has been completed, and the results have been published. So if you're not familiar with Botox, Botox is basically a neurotoxin extracted from various sources or created synthetically that is injected into particular spots, nerve clusters in your body, typically neck and shoulders, sometimes facial areas, which studies have shown and lots of migraine sufferers have found to be a very, very effective preventative for their migraines. That doesn't mean all of their migraines stop, of course, but it means that they see a significant enough reduction in their monthly migraine episodes that it appears to be a very, very helpful migraine preventative. In fact, more effective than quite a few, if not most, of the medications on the market, apart from the CGRPs. And additionally, part of the reason that some people have not tried Botox is because it is a neurotoxin, and they are concerned about long-term exposure and or maybe becoming kind of immune to it over time. The more you take it, or the longer you take it, the less effective it is. Both of those have been real concerns, not only for migraine sufferers, but for researchers. And so this is an important study that has looked at Botox for migraine use in Greece over the last 3 years. And the results were really overall very positive. Of the 81 patients who were in the original part of the study, 86.1% of them stayed on for the full 3 years. 9 patients did drop out, but over half of those patients who dropped out did so because they saw such a significant improvement in their migraines in regards to them going down that they didn't believe additional sessions were needed. So we had 86% of 81 patients left in the study, and overall the results were very, very positive. The researchers highlighted that no patient became resistant to the treatment, and the safety analysis in the study itself showed that it was safe and well tolerated without severe side effects. They did note that a few patients experienced some of the normal side effects of injections, right? You get mild pain where the injection sites are sometimes, and occasionally you get shoulder and or neck pain days after the injection is completed. But overall, those side effects are very, very minimal compared to the benefit, the migraine reduction that many of these people saw. 50 of the 56 patients that completed the full 3 years of treatment are continuing to get long-term Botox treatment. So they're going to continue with it. And those results, of course, are in the study as well. If you're new to the podcast, what I like to do is put in the show notes below links to everything I'm talking about so you can read about it yourself. So if you're wanting to take a look at this data and find the links to the actual study, you can check it out in the show notes. But part of the reason that this is really exciting is because, as I said, there have been a lot of people who have been reserved about starting, have had reservations about trying Botox for their migraine for those two particular reasons. They're worried they're either going to kind of become immune to it, you become resistant to the treatment, and or they're just very concerned about what long-term exposure to a neurotoxin is going to do. And so a 3-year study like this is very good in that it shows that it doesn't look like there's going to be any serious side effects, at least in those 3 years. Now, of course, longer-term studies are ongoing right now, and those results will be published when they're finalized as well. So we'll keep a tight eye on it, but for right now, it looks like Botox can be a very, very safe, and for lots and lots of migraine sufferers, very effective at reducing their monthly migraines. So if you have tried Botox and found it to be very effective, I would love to hear from you on social media. Just search out The Migraine Guy wherever you're at and let me know about, who your doctor or doctors are, because that is an essential part of getting good Botox treatment, is having a doctor who picks a appropriate injection sites and injects into those sites in a way that gets the Botox to where it needs to be to help deaden those nerves so that you don't get the pain transmission. So if you've got a good doctor, you've got a good history with Botox, let me know on social media. But also, there's no silver bullet for migraine, and so there are lots of migraine sufferers who have tried it and did not find it effective. You can reach out to me too and let me know what your experience was. I just want to hear from people who have been doing Botox for a while, either with success or without, because it certainly is one thing that has, as the muscle relaxer I'm on becomes less effective at helping me sleep and taking away some of my migraine pain, I need to start thinking about another treatment, and Botox might be, now that we have quite a bit of research behind it, the kind of thing my health insurance will fully cover or mostly cover. And if that's the case, then I definitely want to try it. So let me know your experience. Let's get now to your migraine tip of the week. So this migraine tip of the week is going to continue our supplement theme from last episode. The supplement that we're going to be talking about today is coenzyme Q10, otherwise known as CoQ10. Now, CoQ10 is very often described as a vitamin or something like a vitamin. The important biological function that CoQ10 largely does is that it functions to help your body create ATP, your body's cellular energy source, basically, and is involved in a number of important biological processes such as muscle contraction and the production of protein. Some food sources do have it, like meat and fish. They do contain CoQ10, but of course the amount that you're going to get in a supplement is always going to be higher than the amount that you can get in a readily available food source. And so if you're trying to boost your CoQ10 levels to help reduce, say, your migraine frequency, you're probably not going to be seeing those results from your diet. You're going to have to be using supplements in order to get the hundreds of milligrams needed into your system. Now, of course, standard disclaimer, if you're using or planning on using CoQ10 for any health issue, migraine or otherwise, you always want to let your doctor know about it. That way they can let you know if they're aware of any potential side effects with other medications that you're taking, or if they've just stumbled upon some new research that you should be aware of in regards to that supplement. But overall, CoQ10 seems to have very, very low risks and side effects as long as you're taking up to 600 milligrams. I don't know that many studies have looked at more than that, but the studies that I was able to pull up found that 600 milligrams seemed to be a pretty safe level to shoot up to if you're going to try it out. Minor side effects do include certain things like burning sensations in your mouth, loss of appetite, nausea, why can't I say that word? And diarrhea. And in some large studies, gastrointestinal side effects are shown, but they typically are below that 1% threshold, so it seems to be a pretty safe supplement to try. Now, in use for migraine, a few studies have been done looking at CoQ10. From the Migraine Trust is where I'm getting these study summaries. There was a study where 32 patients diagnosed with having migraine with or without aura were treated with CoQ10. They were treated by taking 150 milligrams of CoQ10 per day in this experiment, in this study. Importantly, no adverse events were associated with CoQ10 therapy, and as a result of taking 150 milligrams every day, 61.3% of the patients had at least a 50% reduction in their monthly migraine episodes. So over half had more than half of their migraines go away simply by taking 150 milligrams of CoQ10. That's a pretty astounding number. Now, of course, the amount of people in the study is not listed in this study summary, and so I'm not exactly sure how many people that really amounts to, but the idea that supplementation can help your migraines to a very, very large degree is nothing new. Just look at some of the research behind things like magnesium and feverfew and butterbur. So adding CoQ10 to your migraine treatment may help increase your pain-free days, which of course is our goal here. There was another study that was done that found that CoQ10 appeared to be associated with no significant adverse side effects, but also reduced about 50% of migraines in another series of study subjects that used about 150 milligrams again of CoQ10. So there does seem to be something to it, and definitely something to such a degree that I'm beginning to think about getting some CoQ10 into my daily migraine treatment plan. Part of the reason, that I'm always hesitant with supplements is that supplements tend to be unregulated in the United States, and so if you don't have a good supplement company or a supplement brand who properly tests and does quality checks to make sure that you're getting what's on the label and nothing else, it can be kind of hard to want to buy supplements because very often the news has stories about supplements either being filled with just like rice flour or being filled with things that you really don't want to put into your system. So supplement buying can be tricky in the United States. The FDA doesn't really regulate them too thoroughly, and so there's a lot of questions there. But as long as you have a good supplement brand, a brand that you've had lots of success with, and they make a CoQ10 supplement, it would probably be in our best interest to at least try it out for a month or two and see if we can get at least some migraine reduction. So I'm probably going to be getting some of this soon, though I need to do a little bit more research on the brands that I'll be checking out. So if you are using it or have used it and have seen success or no success, please let me know. I always like hearing from the listeners. If you have a brand of supplement that you think is really, really good, please reach out and let me know, because if they are, I would love to chat with them and maybe get some discounts for my listeners, because it's always good to have a company that's actually trying to help people and not just make money. So if you have a good company, let me know. Now let's move on to our migraine comment, question, or listener story. All right, this migraine question of the week is actually just an announcement. There were lots of questions that I got asked when I posted on Facebook this week about what kind of questions people want answered. So we're going to be addressing those over the upcoming weeks. But I also had a tremendous amount of people actually reach out and say that they would love to be interviewed on the podcast. As you know, we've done a few interviews here on the pod before with various people, but I really want to get more on here, and so it was really nice to hear that people want to be interviewed. If you're one of them, if you want to be interviewed on the pod, you want to share your migraine story, not necessarily because you see yourself as a migraine expert, not because you think you have something unique and so special that the world needs to hear it, but just want to get your voice out there. You want other people to know that they have someone like you out there also. Maybe your migraine condition is very, very difficult to deal with, but you found a couple coping mechanisms that you think people need, or you want to give some hints or suggestions about how to find a doctor, or just how to live day in and day out with chronic pain. All of that is valuable. You don't have to be, a quote specialist in order to be on the podcast. I know this because, you don't have to be a specialist to have a podcast. So if you want to join the Migraine Guy on the podcast for a brief, 5 to 10 minute story session, share some stuff about your life, or if your story turns out to be, very, very interesting and nuanced in a way that people should hear it, we can, of course, devote an entire podcast to it as well. So if you want to reach out to me to be on the show, just hit me up. You can email me, themigraineguy@gmail.com, or you can find me on social media. But we're going to be getting to a lot of good stuff over the next few weeks, so I definitely want to make a schedule, get, kind of an order to it, find out who's going to be first, second, third, that kind of stuff. So if you want your name added to the list, just hit me up wherever you find me. That being said, let's get to the end of the show. All right, everyone, that is going to wrap up this episode of the Migraine Guy podcast. Thanks for listening to the whole podcast. Again, if you're new, hit subscribe and leave some nice comments on iTunes. As usual, I'm going to close out the podcast by advertising the Migraine Guy support group on Facebook. We have lots and lots of very active members, which is very nice, because sometimes when my life gets busy, or the moderators' lives get busy, it's nice to know that the community itself is able to feel comfortable sharing comments, questions, concerns, responding to one another, edifying one another. And, every once in a while we do get the bad apple who's trying to come in and, sell their ebook or talk about pills and potions that they know someone who is selling them can provide. So we axe those people pretty quick. We knock them out of the group pretty quickly. We have a very zero tolerance policy in that regard. But if you need support, if you're isolated, if your family doesn't understand, your friends don't understand, your job's not helping or being supportive, et cetera, your doctor's just thinking that you're making up the amount of pain that you could be in because they've never experienced it, yada, yada, yada. If you need a community of people who will listen to you, who will help you, who, even if all they can do is hit the like button on your comment and share some kind words or maybe a funny GIF, then head over to Facebook and search the Migraine Guy support group. It's very essential that we stay connected to one another, because chronic pain has a unique power to isolate and make us feel helpless, and being with other people who can pull you up and say, no, it can get better if we try some of this stuff, or have you thought of this, or has your doctor tried this, or have you heard about this doctor in your area, things that you yourself can't seem to conceptualize of because you're so inundated with pain. Those are the kind of things that support groups are really, really helpful with. So head over to Facebook, search the Migraine Guy support group if you need community, and if you feel isolated, you feel alone, you feel like life's not going to get better, that might be true short term, that might be true for some long term, but I really believe that a good community can help alleviate a number of those issues. So if you feel alone, please know, as I say every week, I try to close out the podcast consistently with this, if you feel alone, that's just a feeling. You are not alone. You're not alone. So head over to Facebook, join the support group if you need support. If you listened to this entire long-winded podcast, thank you so much. And we'll catch you next time, everyone. If you want to help keep everything that the Migraine Guy does free, then you can become a patron over at the website patreon.com. That's Patreon.com. Patreon lets people contribute funds to other people whose work they value. Becoming a patron does things for me, such as allowing me to buy new products so that I can do product review videos so that you know whether or not a given migraine product actually works before you buy it. It also helps me do things like upgrade the microphones and cameras for both the YouTube channel and this podcast. And more importantly, it helps me be accountable to you, my migraine community. You can pledge as low as $1 a month if you want to, and every single dollar does help. Just head over to patreon.com/themigraineguy to become a patron today.